Hello and welcome to another edition of Discoveries in Health. I'm your host, Chris McKay, and I'm really glad you're with me today because today we're going to be talking about an issue that affects each and every one of us, and that's stress. And believe it or not, whether it's job stress, financial stress, family stress, or even the little things that we're told not to stress about, any form of stress takes a serious physical toll on your body. But don't worry, because there is something you can do about your stress. And joining me today on the phone is Dr. Michael Pinkus. And Dr. Pinkus is going to talk about stress and give us some great information on things that we can do to reduce or even eliminate the negative effects that daily stress has on our bodies. For those of you that may not know Dr. Pinkus, he is a nationally recognized authority on natural and alternative health. He's worked with top Hollywood celebrities, professional and Olympic athletes, and he continues to be involved in the latest research into today's top health concerns. And Dr. Pinkus, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Chris. Great to be with you.
So let's get right into this whole stress issue. You know, stress is such a normal part of our daily routine these days, but why should we all be concerned about it? And more specifically, what's going on in our bodies and what are the warning signs that we should be looking for?
Well, you know, there's two ways to look at stress. One is what we call mental stress, and the other is how stress affects your body. As a doctor, I'm more interested in how it affects your body.
Sure.
So the way stress affects the body is this. When a person's under stress, the body transposes the stress into tension.
Okay.
And your muscles end up contracting. And everyone feels that in their upper back and neck. You feel the tightness.
Right.
As a doctor, I'm more concerned about the muscles that you don't feel, such as the muscles in the arteries that tighten up. And the muscles, the heart is a giant muscle.
Oh, right.
And the muscles in and around your digestive tract. Because these are the things that are resulting in heart disease, digestive difficulties. And I want to talk a little bit in your show today about nutrition because there are two nutrients that completely handle the body in terms of stress.
Okay.
Now, according to the research that I've been involved with, it's as simple as calcium and magnesium.
Calcium and magnesium.
Right.
Okay.
When you're deficient in calcium and magnesium, a lot of things can happen. Calcium, magnesium, for example, is needed in order to go to sleep at night. And how many people do you know they just don't sleep well? You wake up tired, your body hurts more, pretty soon it starts to wear you down, and pretty soon you get sick and you have a condition. If people are suffering from pain and osteoporosis and fibromyalgia and cramps in their legs and weird illnesses, so there's something wrong with this picture. And it has to do with not how much calcium someone's taking in their diet or how many calcium supplements or how many antacids you chew. It has to do with simple absorption. Is that calcium getting absorbed into your body?
With calcium being something to deal with stress, isn't calcium for building bones?
Well, yes, okay.
Yeah.
And it does build your teeth. But you see, 1% of the calcium actually circulates in your blood. So when that 1% starts to drop, it could affect your heart, your brain, your kidneys, your organs, and your body shuts down, actually dies.
Wow.
And so 1% of the calcium always has to be in your system. And there's two sources of calcium. One is in the diet, and two is from the bones themselves.
The body will absorb it back from the bones if it needs it?
That's right.
I see.
And what you just discussed right now leads to one of the major causes of a condition that's affecting 25 million Americans right now, which is called osteoporosis.
Right.
Which is a weakening of the bone.
Now, and that's due to the body deriving the calcium from the bones instead of from nutrition?
Yep.
Okay.
And so what we have to do is we have to find a way to put calcium back in the diet. Now, you think that would be really easy.
Sure, just drink milk.
Just drink milk or, you know, eat a lot of green leafy vegetables and that sort of thing. But first of all, people don't do that.
Right.
And second of all, the quality of the calcium that comes from our diet has been decreasing in the last 50 years.
Really?
Yeah, because things like pasteurization, foods are irradiated, the calcium is leached from the soils, and people are taking medications that block it. So the actual calcium is not being absorbed in the body.
Okay.
And then you see people taking Tums and calcium supplements, you know, they buy at the health food store, drugstore.
Right.
But these calciums don't absorb in the body.
That's interesting.
For a couple reasons. One, when you take a
let's say an antacid that has the calcium in it, like a Tums. First of all, calcium does not absorb in the body unless it's in an acidic environment. But see, what happens when you take a Tum? It's an antacid.
Oh, okay.
So even if you're getting calcium in the antacid itself, it's not being absorbed.
I see, because it has to be in an acid environment for it to be absorbed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, we have a product called the CalMax formula.
My CalMax formula is natural.
And the difference is that
It's a powder. And what happens is you put it in hot water, and you mix it up, and you drink it down. So it's in a liquid instead of a pill.
and it absorbs into your system.
Wow. So that solves that problem then.
Well, yeah, because when calcium and magnesium are in a liquid state, it absorbs 10 times better than in any other state.
Wow, that's great. Matter of fact, yes, I'm reading the can right now. It says a fast-absorbing calcium and magnesium beverage powder.
Well, it comes down to absorption. One of the ways to tell if you're not absorbing calcium is take a look at what drugs you're taking. Are you on high blood pressure medication? Do you need something for your kidneys? Are you on pain medications? Do you need sleeping pills? If the calcium and especially the magnesium is being absorbed, you're not going to suffer from all these things. My CalMax formula does absorb incredibly in the body. The thing is that when you take my CalMax formula, it's not like, well, will I feel better? I have thousands of people writing me and say, Dr. Pinkus, I can't believe it. 30 minutes after I took the CalMax, the pain in my wrist went away, or I was able to sleep for the first time in years. I mean, this is really amazing.
If you're just joining us, I've got Dr. Michael Pinkus on the phone today, and we're talking about something that we're all too familiar with these days, and that's stress. And we're finding out about the damage that everyday stress can do to our bodies, the warning signs that we should be aware of, and what we can do to alleviate and even eliminate the effects of stress. And Dr. Pinkus, you were talking earlier about calcium and magnesium and how we need these nutrients in our bodies to fight the effects of stress, and how your CalMax formula can help us in this battle against stress. I'd like to talk for a minute about how the magnesium factors in. I mean, I'm starting to understand about the calcium, but what does magnesium do?
Well, we're talking about stress, and we're talking about stress affects the body. And first of all, in order to function at all, your body needs magnesium. It's probably, of all the vitamins I could list, magnesium is probably the most important vitamin on the planet right now.
I've not heard a whole lot about magnesium. I mean, why is magnesium so important?
There's over 325 biochemical reactions that magnesium is involved with. It's almost like a hormone.
Wow.
And, for example, with low levels of magnesium, your heart won't beat.
Ooh.
Very important factor in life.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, in fact, let me just read a list of some of the conditions associated with magnesium deficiencies.
Okay.
You have attention deficit disorder, Alzheimer's, anxiety, asthma, autism, chronic fatigue syndrome, congestive heart disease, constipation, diabetes, fibromyalgia, high blood pressure, insomnia, migraine headaches, multiple sclerosis, muscle cramps, Parkinson's, osteoporosis, and the list just goes on and on and on.
And this is associated with a lack of magnesium in the body?
Simply a lack of magnesium.
Holy cow.
So it's nothing to really mess around with. Now what happens is this. You need the magnesium in your body in order for the calcium to be absorbed.
Oh, so it's a necessary thing in order to get the first component, which is calcium.
That's right. They work in combination with each other. Now, there's many more practical applications of this CalMax formula. First of all, like I said, you drink it so it gets into your system.
Okay.
And one of the first things we use it for in our clinic is for people who are under a lot of stress and they can't sleep well at night. It works better than anything I've ever seen for people that have trouble sleeping.
Really?
Because it relaxes your body, and you actually feel the relaxation after you drink a cup of the CalMax formula.
Interesting.
Now, the other thing that it's really, really good for are people who are in pain.
Okay.
And I have a whole bunch of stories to tell you and case studies of people actually taking the CalMax formula and getting rid of pain. And this is including arthritic type pain, fibromyalgia, which is a form of arthritis, back pain, muscle spasms, migraine headaches. There's a whole category of areas I'd like to discuss with you.
Wow, that's fantastic. Some of those things that you've named seem to be age-related or things that we experience as we grow older. Is there a link there?
Yeah, there's a vicious circle that I'd like to discuss. What happens is that when a person has a magnesium deficiency, specifically magnesium, they don't absorb their foods well. And so they go into what we call malabsorption syndrome, which millions and millions of Americans have. And it's not like you feel sick or, this or that. You might be over time just starting to feel more tired and tired and tired. And that's just a real gradual over time type of thing. And a lot of people justify that they're getting old and they just need more rest or whatever.
Right, that's what I would think.
Now what happens is that when you get less absorption, you actually increase the deficiency in your system of magnesium.
Wow.
And that starts to take the calcium out of the bones. You start getting bone loss. You start getting muscle loss because it also reduces the muscle mass. And pretty soon before you know it, you are feeling old.
Yeah.
And your body's actually starting to manifest it.
Wow. All due to a simple lack of these nutrients.
Calcium, magnesium. Now, let me tell you, and it is simple. The problem in being a doctor and a researcher is how do you get this into the system? The formula that we have, the calmax formula, is so fantastic because it's in a powdered form. You take hot water and you put it in a cup, take a teaspoon of this powder and mix it in.
Yeah.
And you drink this cup down.
That's great. Well,
the absorption rate is really incredible because it actually goes right into your bloodstream.
Well, if you're just joining us, I've got Dr. Michael Pinkus on the phone today, and he's telling us about stress and how important it is to ensure that you've got the proper nutrients in your system, specifically calcium and magnesium, and how much of an impact that has on our overall health. So I guess one of the things that people should really be aware of is because this isn't an instant thing that triggers you to say, oh, I'm sick, but instead happens gradually over time, it's very possible that people might not even be aware that there is a deficiency of calcium and magnesium in their body.
Well, that's the thing is that deficiencies are not like, a water main breaking where you have a real noticeable thing. Deficiencies are little drips, little leaks here and there. And so what we have is a cumulative effect where a person starts to go downhill just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
To the point where they don't realize how bad they've actually gotten before it's too late.
Dr. Pinkus, you had mentioned insomnia. We talked about that a little bit. What about back pain?
Calcium magnesium is excellent for back pain because the calcium goes into the muscles. The magnesium actually helps the transmitters in the nerve. And when you take this CalMax formula, many times it will calm your back pain.
Wow.
I know a couple years ago, I herniated a disc in my back. And I was trying everything, and I took out the CalMax formula. And I drank it, and I couldn't believe the difference. Within about a half hour, I was functional again. Now, it wasn't completely gone, but I drank it over a 10-day period, and it completely alleviated the problem.
Now, what about heart disease?
Well, heart disease is something you have to watch out for, both dietarily and going down the genetic line.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any history of heart disease or you've even had bypass surgery, you should be on this CalMax formula. And I can't say that without enough emphasis because it's something that will completely give you a new lease on life.
Isn't that amazing? We had talked about arthritis. What about joint pain?
Well, the arthritic joints really respond to this. And I recently gave a can of this to a lady who was suffering from fibromyalgia, where she was having pain in just about every joint in her body. It could be in her knee, it could be in her neck, it could be in her elbow. And I gave it to her 1 week, and I saw her the next week, and I swear, Chris, I did not recognize her.
Really?
Just as a lady that was 64 years old, and the first time I saw her, she looked like she was 84 years old, and a week later, she was bright, she had a beautiful smile, her eyes were gleaming, and I honestly had to ask my wife who this lady was, and sure enough, she was the one who took a week of the formula, the CalMax formula, and she said she got a really good week of sleep for the first time in years.
Wow.
And that her pain was much better, and she ordered 3 more cans for me. Wow. And she was giving it out to her friends.
That's amazing.
And when I use this with the professional athletes, I'm a doctor for the U.S. Olympic team, And I had a number of athletes using this before their events so they could sleep well, and they'd wake up and their muscles were in real relaxed shape.
Wow. You really wouldn't think that such a small component of your normal diet can make such a profound impact over the way that you feel.
Well, see, what's happened, Chris, is that in the last 50 years, the American diet has greatly changed, and the nutrition has greatly changed.
Mm-hmm.
And add to that the medications. Many people are on blood pressure medications or anti-anxiety drugs or heart medications, and many of these things also block the absorption of calcium magnesium in the system.
Wow.
So the very drugs that are treating the conditions that your body is experiencing, because it's deficient in calcium magnesium, it's also blocking further absorption.
Isn't that something?
So it's really a rat race out there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a vicious circle.
It sure is, and what are you going to do? So my formula is try the things that are simple first.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose. This is not going to hurt you, put it that way.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
If you just tuned in, we're talking with Dr. Michael Pinkus about stress and the negative effects that everyday stress has on your body, whether it's job stress, financial stress, family stress. Any form of stress takes a serious physical toll on your body. And Dr. Pinkus, you were talking about how your calmax formula can help us in this battle against stress. And I guess this is something everyone should be aware of, whether you're 24 or 94.
Well, I've used it for many, many years as a younger person, and now as I'm aging as well, I use this, and it definitely helps me sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
It helps control the stress of the workaday world, and many people will just be amazed how this actually works.
Because our formula has a chemical reaction that occurs before you actually ingest it.
Mm-hmm.
Calmax is pre-dissolved. It doesn't get lodged in your system. And so what happens is that when people drink the Calmax, it's like an infusion into your body. It's like, whoa, it's like decompressing. And so people who are in pain, they take the Calmax, the calcium magnesium gets into the muscles, and it starts to relax it.
Dr. Pinkus, you talked earlier about how stress affects your energy, and I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more on that subject, if you would. I mean, does stress really affect our energy levels?
Good question. Because energy is like the biggest thing right now, like people, chronic fatigue syndrome, PMS, and fibromyalgia. Like wiping people out. And that's the key to low energy, is a lot of it's caused by pain, feeling old, your joints don't move well. This kind of wipes you out. It drains your energy, and then you get tired and you go to sleep. Guess what? You don't sleep. Now I'm telling you, like, common scenarios due to a lack of calcium and magnesium in your system. When you have the Calmax, and the first thing that happens, you take it 20 minutes before you go to bed, you get a good night's sleep. And you wake up feeling refreshed and your energy comes back.
Is Calmax safe? I mean, you're telling us how powerful Calmax is, and I'm just wondering if you can ever take too much, or if it's safe to take if you're already on any supplements or medications.
Calmax has never, ever been shown to interact poorly with any medication. Okay, it's 100% natural, it's safe. And you know, our formula doesn't contain sugar, which is in a lot of calcium products, wheat, soy, gluten, lactose, or anything that people are trying to avoid. Calmax doesn't have any of that. But you see, the point is that if you're a person who's a diabetic, you're on high blood pressure, you've had bypass surgery, guess what? You are deficient. You are deficient in the calcium and magnesium.
Dr. Pinkus, unfortunately, we're about out of time. Any parting thoughts? I mean, who can really benefit from this?
Well, I wish we had more time, because this product, I'll tell you, if you're over the age of 35, you should definitely be taking the Calmax formula just daily on a preventative basis.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's more of a senior citizen, or if you're someone who can't sleep well, or you're experiencing a lot of muscle cramps, a lot of aching in your body, this is an absolute. It's so simple, but it controls most every function in your whole body.
You're someone that's been diagnosed with a condition, you've been on blood pressure medications, all these things. Calmax is so unique. It's something that I urge you to try, because Calmax can help you.
Well, Dr. Pinkus, I think that's great advice, and I want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Please join us again next week for another edition of Discoveries in Health. Until then, I'm Chris McKay, wishing good health to you and your family.